Welcome to Home with Friends.
Hi.
Anna. Hi. I'm so excited for you to be here.
I'm
I
excited.
actually was just going over the questions while I was waiting for you, and I'm like, wait, I think this is going to be a really fun conversation.
Yay.
So we've known each other for a very long time.
Yes.
I went back in my email last night, and I went back to the very first appointment I ever made with you. Do you remember like what year it was?
Oh my gosh, that was probably like 2021 or 2020.
Yep,
Maybe?
June 2021.
Was it really?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
June 2021, so it's almost been 4 years. And of
Okay.
course, there was probably points I wasn't coming every 6 weeks, but for the most part,
Yeah.
I'm seeing you every 6 weeks for 4 years.
Yeah, you are loyal.
I'm
you are loyal.
I'm loyal. That's
you are
right.
very loyal, which I love. That's like, to be honest with you, like loyal clients, and they all honestly become like kind of friends. You know what I mean? Like obviously we are friendly, but yeah, that's like the best clients you can have. It's like the loyal people that like you learn them inside and out, and like you learn their home life, like everything about them, and just in general, like how you are as a person.
Well, yeah, it's like a hairstylist. You know everything. We've had heart to hearts.
Literally
I've
heart to
cried
heart
in there.
Yes.
Like I've literally
Yes.
cried laying on your table. Like you know a lot.
Yeah.
You know more than most.
I'm dying. No, that's like the best thing ever. But it's like a part of the job too. I feel like that's such a big reason why I love that job so much, is just in general, like being able to connect with people, and also just being able to like learn people on a personal level and connect with them too.
So to clarify, you're an esthetician.
Yeah.
Which last night when I was doing a little, just research, I was realizing like in your Instagram bio, it's spelled with an A. And I was like, wait a second. I go, oh, there's a difference between esthetician with an E and then esthetician with an A in front of it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
From what I've learned since last night, it's the A means you're more medical focused, right?
Yeah.
Clinical,
exactly.
medical focused. And then E is beauty focused.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah. Usually I find like esthetician with an A. I mean, really in the grand scheme of things, is there like a true difference to like the field? Some would say yes, some would say no. I think
What do you say?
in general, I'm like yes, but in technical terms, I don't think a lot of estheticians like to like have that divide of like the A and the E. I just feel like it's whatever field you decide to go in and what niche you're practicing.
Right.
But yes, technically the A is for medical, and then the E is for more the beauty side.
Okay, understood. So can you kind of explain what you do and what you like to focus on?
Yeah. So like in general, like medical.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Because I think the cliche probably when people think esthetician, they think more beauty.
yeah.
Probably facials. Because like when I'm coming to you every 6 weeks, we do a pretty routine facial. Of course, we add stuff in here and there. But give us the peek into like the medical side.
Yeah, so I am in medical aesthetics. Basically, medical is kind of just, I would say, like more science focused. So we do a lot more with like the microneedling treatments, lasers, chemical peels, just more, I would say, on that like medical side. We do a lot of like PRF microneedling, which is like when you get like the blood draw, and basically we call it the vampire facial. And then they basically spin it in a centrifuge and then split the platelets, put it back onto the skin, super nutrient rich. We use like exosomes. That's where you get into that more medical side, where you're just exploring more into, I think, that like technical, like science backed like technology. But the beauty side, I would say, is more of like, you're going to see, I would say, like more of like the natural facials, or maybe you're just like more focused on facials and technique in general, but you're not using like all the extra like technology as far as like machinery and lasers and all those kind of things.
And you have fun with the machinery, right?
Oh yeah.
Don't you love that?
To me, I just feel like it's so much more, it's like corrective. So in general, like whenever I get somebody in who maybe has like a really serious concern, like acne or pigmentation, I find it so much more technical to treat. So you're not spending like a lot of time doing like a lot of facials, and obviously products are important, but I think on that esthetician side where you're more beauty focused, it's a lot of like more fluffy kind of. And I hate to say that because I don't want to knock it, but I do find that like that medical side, it's more treatment focused.
Yeah.
So, and obviously skincare is important, but more of the treatment type stuff is like really forward in that.
Really effective, yeah. And listen, the fluffy stuff's great too. Like I love coming in and just relaxing and giving a little massage. Like you're basically a massage therapist too.
Right. Well, and I worked for Chanel before this, so for 6 years. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I remember the first time we met, you were doing my facial and you said you had just come from Chanel.
Yeah.
And for some reason I was like, oh, she's so glam. Like, she's so cool.
So at that time, I was actually working 2 jobs. So
really?
this is funny. So because you've known me since the very beginning, since I started in medical, I actually previously worked for Chanel for 6 years and had like kind of worked my way up with the company and was like loving it. But then COVID hit, and that's like kind of when I took my turn into like more the medical field. But at that time, I basically was still like on that back end of like working for Chanel and like kind of starting my own clientele and, you know, trying to get in there and build. And so I was working like part-time at Chanel. I would come in, I would do facials like 2 to 3 days a week.
Oh my God.
Literally just building my clientele from scratch, which is where we're at now, which is crazy.
Yes.
And then working like on the side still at Chanel. So I do find like a lot of my technique, I think, and the way that like my facials go, I do kind of keep that like luxury style into them.
Yes, you do.
Just because of like that background. But I also find too, like people like that. They want to relax. They want to be able to come in and like decompress or, you know, just be able to chill out. And I like to kind of connect both. And I think that's more my specialty is like connecting the technical side, but also still having like the luxury, relaxing side too.
100%. That's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
And like, you know how if you're going to hire a personal trainer, you want them to have like a banging body. Like
Right.
you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have perfect skin.
Oh, thank you.
I tell you that all the time.
Thank
like
you.
have
So
the
do you.
absolute perfect face.
Thank
So once I got my first facial from you, I'm like, yep, done. Never leaving.
But you should. Like, I think whatever field you go into, and especially like if you're owning your own business or if it's a situation where like you're having to build a clientele or, you know, really maintain clients and business, I think you should look the part. Like you should fully embrace what you do and what you love.
Yes.
So that's how you get people in.
Exactly. And that's why you look gorgeous today. If you could give advice to people that want to start getting regular facials but maybe don't think it's affordable for them, what are some treatments that they can like come in and at least start with? Like what's a good starting routine for somebody?
Yeah, so I always am going to recommend a chemical peel just because a chemical peel, you can get those pretty few and far between, I feel like, depending on like the place that you're going, but you can get them whether they're like a true chemical peel where you're actually physically peeling, or you can get light grade chemical peels for fairly decent prices. So I have seen them range from anywhere from like maybe $150 to like $275. If you're not wanting to spend a lot just in general, I think that's a good place to start treatment wise because treatments can get pretty expensive, but to give you great results. So, and usually those are going to help a lot with cell turnover, fine lines, wrinkles, like smoothing out texture, tone, clarity, like all the things in the skin. But I will always say start with that if you can. If you're wanting to kind of upgrade from that, try microneedling. I think microneedling is very much worth it. And then price range for that I think our price is $450. Everybody is different, but that's about the general range that you're going to find for a microneedling treatment. That's like, I would definitely say if you can give microneedling a chance, like do it just in general. Again, really great for fine lines, wrinkles, texture, pores, long term.
But do you have to get multiple?
You
see
do.
results?
So yes, 3 treatments, best results. But even if you do one, you're still going to get great results. Like you're still creating cell turnover, which is really important.
Okay.
So I feel like those are going to be like the most important treatments if you're not wanting to spend a lot and at least start somewhere. Start on the chemical peel route, depending on what type of peel it is. If you want to go a step above that, then do like a microneedling treatment.
Okay, so I'm really excited for this episode specifically because you are going to be a first-time home buyer when you do buy a home. So this is a fresh, new perspective. So back in February 2023, I actually pre-approved you for a home.
Yes.
You were pre-approved, you were ready to go, but you decided to continue to rent. So can you take me back and walk me through that decision-making process?
Yeah, so my situation is kind of, I mean, everybody's situation, I'm sure, like in home buying is so completely different. During that time, my fiance and I, we are now engaged, but thank you. But yeah, so we were dating at the time and I really wanted to buy a house. That was like my one thing that I was like, I want to buy a house. If I'm not going to get married, then like I'm going to do this on my own. And at that time, like I knew we had talked a little bit about getting married, but not necessarily like, it wasn't set in stone. I didn't really know what was going to happen, but it was kind of like, you know, we had mentioned it here and there. And then I told Devin, I'm like, my personal like mantra has always been like, I do not want to have kids or buy a house until I am married. Like
okay,
that
I was
was
gonna
just
ask
a goal.
you that.
yeah, that was like a goal I really set for myself. And, you know, no shade to anybody who doesn't want that, but just personally, that was something that I wanted. So I was looking at getting pre-approved, and then obviously went through you, which was a very easy process. And I now know that it's not scary, but at that time it was also kind of like a weird market. And it was when the interest rates had like shot up, and then everybody was like going crazy, putting like insane amounts of like money on houses, and
without even looking at them sometimes.
Yeah, and it was like a lot of what do they call that? Like sight unseen.
Yep. Literally
like,
sight unseen. Yeah. Buyers were in a tough position for sure.
Yeah, and at that time Devin did not want to buy a house yet, so I was like, well, I'm just going to do it on my own. So I had gotten pre-approved, and I think I got really intimidated, to be honest with you, and
which is so fair and so real, and that's what I want to talk about.
And that was like kind of a turning point of in our relationship too. We were like, okay, like what do we want to do like moving forward? You know what I mean? And what are our goals that we have for ourselves like long term? And we ended up getting engaged, and yeah, now we're kind of at the point where like we want to get married. Obviously, we have the wedding date set, and then I think we're going to buy a house after that. So
Yay!
I'm like, now we're here. I'm like so ready.
Okay,
but
good.
I also think it's a timing thing for us too. So, you know, and just in life, like I think you have to be in like the right time, and also like the right situation too.
Yeah, you don't want to rush into it. You don't want to do it. Is homeownership, does it feel like a goal to you, or does it feel pressure?
I think at first I felt pressured, and to be honest with you, like back in 2023, like all my friends are getting married, they're having kids, like everybody's moving on, and I'm kind of just like looking at myself, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what are my goals? Like, what's for me next? And I think I really had to learn to just like let life happen. It will happen at your own time. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like everybody's timeline is so different, and I'm so happy for all my friends that did like move on and get married and all the things. And, you know, I wish them all the best. But I think people get into these situations sometimes where they just try to rush things because they see everything else going on around them. And I think for me, like I had to learn to just like slow down and be like, okay, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen, and, you know, then move forward. But yeah, it's
and we've had those conversations because I've felt the exact same way.
Right.
Maybe not specifically about homeownership, but just about relationships and marriage and kids. I want all those things too. And I'm in a position where I'm 33 years old and I'm single.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard. It can get really dark. It can get really scary. But then then you have these high moments of like, wait a second, I'm free, I'm single, I'm having fun. Hopefully the next person I date seriously is somebody I do marry and start a family with. So let me enjoy this single phase now, because once it's over, it's over.
Right.
Like I don't have any intention to have a single phase again.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, exactly.
It's like there's pros and cons to everything. And the second you start getting caught up comparing yourself in any aspect, like that's when it just gets really, really dangerous.
Right. I'm glad I have waited and just taken the time to like figure out where life goes, because I think again, like whenever it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. But homeownership, like that is definitely a goal of mine. Like I want to be a homeowner. I just think, you know, I have to just like be in the right time and place, and it'll all happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
So.
And you're so young. You're good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So as a first-time home buyer who hasn't been through the process yet, yes, you got pre-approved. So we did some of that beginning stuff. Tell me, like, what are some things that are confusing or intimidating when thinking about buying a home?
I think in general, because you just hear everybody talk about like, oh my God, it's like a lot of work, or I didn't get approved for this home, or like, you know, whatever, you put an amount down and then the people like decline or whatever it is. I think that gets a little intimidating, and that's where I think I'm like, okay, I don't even know how this whole process works. You know what I mean? But I do find that like when I got pre-approved, that was way easier than I actually thought it was. Like with the information and just everything that I had to give, I don't know why I in my mind had thought it was like this big, long, drawn out process, but it actually like only took a few days.
Yeah, it actually shouldn't even take a few days. If I took a few days, that's on me.
Oh my God.
No,
I didn't mean to say that.
Oh my God, no,
Okay.
no, that's totally fine. But we'll talk through the pre-approval process.
Okay.
So are you 1099 or W-2? I don't remember things like this.
W-2.
You're W-2, okay. So basically the pre-approval process, it should be super easy in the sense that you fill out an application. So typically I'll send you a link to an application. You fill it out online. It really should take you 10 minutes tops, right? And an application's pretty basic. It's all of your information, your current employer, income, and that's kind of it, right? And then from there, I need to verify income. So if you're a W-2 employee, sending me your most recent pay stubs that cover the last 30 days, plus your last 2 years of W-2s, that's all I need. I verify income, and then I pull credit. So this is where we look at your debt to income ratio. So basically what you do is you take, like, let's say you have a car payment. You have your car payment, we'll call it $500 a month.
Yeah.
Let's say you have, I don't know, a student loan, $100 a month. That's $600. We'll just say that. And then you take whatever the new mortgage payment's going to be, which I'll figure that out. I'll say, okay, for this purchase price, if you're going to put 20% down or if you're going to put 5% down, rates right now are here. That's going to bring your payment to this. So that payment plus your current debt divided by your income is X percent. If it's under 50%, you're approved. And that's it. That really should be easy.
Yeah.
And then once you get into the loan process, also really should be pretty straightforward. But I feel like that's like another piece where people just get super confused. So the pre-approval you've been through, is there anything you would like clarity on about the loan process or closing on a home?
I think like closing, I don't really personally know what that whole process looks like in general. So maybe if you could tell me, like, I know they talk about like closing costs, like all that kind of stuff. Where does that come from? And like, what is that exactly?
Great question. So with a mortgage, and this is all going to be very vague umbrella statements because every single loan is going to be different depending on a lot of different factors. For the most part, closing costs are going to consist of title fees. So title is its own beast. This is something that like we don't even need to go down a rabbit hole on, but basically the attorney, they do title work and a title search. So that's where like previous owners, the deed, things like that. Paperwork that's like filed with the county, okay? So they do title work, it's called. So there's gonna be title fees plus the attorney's services. So closing for a purchase happens typically at an attorney's office. So you can work with an attorney here in Charlotte. You'll go to their office for closing. You'll sit there, physically sign the papers. It takes like 30 minutes and then you're done. And then they go record it. And then once they record it with the county, you officially get your keys. The recording usually takes like 2 hours tops. So that's one part of the closing costs is title fees, title/attorney. Another part of closing costs are going to be lender fees. So like when you work with me, I'm your lender, right? So like I'm going to charge you certain fees for working with me because our company has to get paid. Now, of course, I want to always be the cheapest and the most affordable, especially friends and family. You're always going to get a discount that way too. But that's where when you're shopping around, that's what you want to compare. You really want to compare lender fees. Attorney fees, you're probably going to use the same attorney regardless of what lender you use. A lot of times, the real estate agent you're working with will have a go-to attorney. So a lot of people don't know this, but as a buyer, you can choose your attorney. So like, let's say you have a friend that's a real estate attorney and you're working with a real estate agent, you find a house you like and they're like, oh, we're going to close with so-and-so law. Like, oh, actually, no, like my best friend's a real estate. Oh, okay, you can use whoever you want. Most buyers just don't have a relationship with a real estate attorney. They don't want to do the research. They don't care. So they just use whoever the agent has a good relationship with. With that being said, it's the same with lenders. So you can shop different lenders. So you might know me, I'm a loan officer. You might have other loan officer friends, whatever the case may be. And then this is what I always say as far as cost, like any lender can get you any rate. Okay. There's a rate sheet. Picture it like this. Picture you have 4% all the way up to like 9%, 4.125, 4.25, whatever. Okay. You have what's called a par rate. Par rate is right in the middle. That means this is the lowest rate without paying points. It's called points. Points is an origination fee. It could be called different things, but paying points. So once you start taking a lower rate, the lower the rate, the higher the points. If you take a 4%, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg for it in this market. Opposite's true. If you start taking a higher rate, now you're not paying points. I'm giving you a credit to cover some cost. So that's a big piece of it where, you know, when I'm quoting you, I'll usually show you what the par rate is and then I'll show you like a rate under it. Because sometimes it does make sense to buy the rate down a little bit. Then I'll show you a higher rate to get a little bit cost, bring a little bit less to closing. What'll happen is I'll say, okay, 6.5 is the par rate. That's the best deal. You'll say, okay. Another lender will come in and say, I can get you a 6.125. And you're like, oh, they're getting me a better rate. Not realizing I can also do 6.125. It's not that I don't have that rate. let's talk about the cost associated with it. Maybe I didn't bring it up to you because it's really expensive.
Right.
So a lot of times that'll happen, and then someone will come to me, bring me that 6.125 estimate from another lender, and I'm like, oh my God, Anna, they're charging you $9,000 in points.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas I can do it and I'll only charge you $7,000.
Right.
Which, to be honest, I still don't think is a good deal. I
Right.
still don't think you should pay $7,000 for it. But if you want that rate, at least do it with me and I can save you money.
Yeah.
That's one piece of closing costs. And then generally you're going to have like a recording fee with the county that's usually pretty cheap, usually like $65 in North Carolina, and then escrows.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, do you know what escrows are?
I don't even know if I know what an escrow is.
Okay, good.
Well, I kind of know the gist of it, but maybe technical terms, like I'm not going to know all the details.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So escrows consist of homeowners insurance and property taxes. Okay. So when you buy a house and I give you an interest rate and say this is your payment, you're going to have your principal and interest.
Yeah.
That's part of the payment. You're also going to have to pay homeowners insurance every single month.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to pay property taxes. Any house you get, just like you have to pay for car insurance. Homeowners insurance, that's something you shop for on your own. So typically I tell people, if you have car insurance, if you use Geico, for example, call them. Usually they'll give you a good bundle deal and you can get homeowners through them, shop that around, get the best deal. Property taxes, you have no control over.
Right.
That just depends on the house. Typically when you're shopping, let's say you're on Zillow and you find a house you like, if you scroll all the way down, it'll say price history and tax history, and it'll give you the property taxes. So you can actually see what that is. So then you take the property tax plus the homeowner's insurance plus the principal and interest, and that's your total mortgage payment.
Okay. I've seen that on Zillow.
Okay,
like
exactly.
when you do the little thing and like you plug in all the numbers. Is that what you're talking about?
You can do that, but
Okay.
I'm saying that's like some calculators that they'll give you, which you can use those. But I'm just saying you can actually look up property taxes, like property taxes.
And do it. Yeah.
It's public record,
Right.
Like you can go to the Mecklenburg County website and look up the property tax bill for my house.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
my address. You can go type that in.
Right.
So you can find that. So like that's how you'll get your total mortgage payment. So escrows have to be collected at closing.
Yeah.
So that's another couple $1,000s.
Right.
You know, homeowners insurance could be $1,800 for the year. Property taxes could be $2,900 for the year.
Right.
You have to consider that.
Right.
So I always tell people whatever the down payment is that you have saved, add $10,000 to it.
Yeah.
That might sound high, like, oh, $10,000 in closing costs. I rather estimate high and it be lower.
Right.
We can mess with the rate. I can talk about some lender credits. We can figure some things out. Maybe I can
Right.
cover an appraisal for you to get that down, but $10,000 safe.
Right. Right.
Anything else you wish someone would explain in plain English when it came to the home buying process?
I think too, I've been kind of toying around that with the idea. We've been like really like kind of like looking here and there, not seeing like a lot on the market that we really like. So we also thought about like maybe buying land. And so I've done some research on like how that process works, because I know you have to get like a land loan and then you have to get like a construction loan. So maybe
good for you. Good job.
Well, I'm like, I don't know exactly though how that ties in. Like, okay, say you do end up wanting to purchase the land, but then like you have to have like a certain amount of time that like you have to wait to build. Like, how does that all?
There's certain banks, like I actually don't do a lot of that.
Okay.
I do a lot of residential.
Yeah.
Credit unions, local banks, like you can find banks that are good in land loans. And then you are still going to pay property taxes on land. It's usually super cheap, but that is something to keep in mind. And then it's kind of on you to go find a builder, deal with all that.
Right.
Then you can come to a lender like me and I can do the construction loan for you. And then that gets like, we can get in the weeds with that. But like, long story short there, we base it off of like what the estimated like after build value will be.
Okay.
And so
like showing plans kind of to get
and
that.
We get quotes from contractors, like full real quotes, and that's what we base the numbers off of. But it can be a year.
Yeah.
That you're in process with something like that.
And then are you paying interest like on that loan until like the loan is settled?
You are paying interest on it.
That's like one beast that I've like looked a little bit into, but it's very complicated.
It's a beast. It's a beast.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
It's definitely a beast. And I can like find more people that are like experts in land loans to help you with that if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
What's on your wish list for a first home?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love anything design. I think like in another life I would have like a whole maybe interior design business or something.
It doesn't have to be another life.
It doesn't have to be another life. No, but I do.
It can be in this life.
Yeah, it can. But yeah, I really love like interior design. I do love like mid-century modern homes, which are kind of few and far between to find. And then when you find them, you realize like, okay, they usually need a lot of work. So kind of looking for something maybe that's like architecturally a little bit different. I do love like the idea of maybe like slight renovations just to make it what I want. I don't want to do like new build, which I know as a first time home buyer, that probably sounds like ridiculous because they're like, well, what are you getting into? But something that's just like a little bit different. I don't know.
You need to build or do some slight renovations. Like you need something so unique because I know your style. And I feel like in Charlotte, at least, that doesn't exist. Do you see yourself staying in Charlotte?
I think long term, probably not. No. My parents are here, and like Devin's family is 2 hour or an hour and a half away. So really, we're here because of family. And then obviously, like I have my clientele, like doing what I'm doing, which I love, and I'm like I don't want to leave that right now. But I think probably like eventually once like parents aren't here or something like that, I think we would probably move on. So
where do you see yourself? I see you on like a mountaintop with a beautiful sunset,
literally
and an infinity pool with like birds chirping.
I think if I were to go, like I always think about this, I'm like I would have loved New York for like a few years of my life just to get it out of my system, because I still think it's like deep rooted inside me to live there for a couple years, but right now is just like not a good time for us to do that. And then, I think probably like long term, I would love to be like completely opposite of New York and just be like in a mountain, in a valley somewhere, just like overlooking the mountains. Exactly like you just said, like chill vibes with my tea, and then
literally with your tea.
Like the coolest looking house. Like I love the idea of like something so simple and simplistic. Like that's my dream. Yeah. It's just if I could just have like concrete floors and like
do you know like Kim Kardashian's house?
That's literally
that's your vibe.
I know people call it an asylum, like they all say it looks like an insane asylum, but I think architecturally it's very well done. And if you're into that kind of like I think architecture, then it's you understand like you appreciate what it is, and who helped design that home and all the things.
So this kind of gets into that. So even though you work for a company right now, you are definitely building your own personal brand, which you can do at the same time. And I love to see it, and I feel like what we're talking about right now, like your Instagram feed specifically is like the most aesthetically pleasing feed ever.
Oh, thank you.
It's just like calming and beautiful, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to live that life. And then the next post will be the most informative, educational, like blood all over your face post. You know what I mean? In the best way. It's like the best balance ever. Do you have a content schedule you're following for your social media? Like what's your strategy with social?
So not really. I always laugh at this because I feel like a lot of people tell me that. They're like, what are you doing for social media? Like how is this brand like becoming? And I don't know that I necessarily have like tried to brand myself. I think it's just like truly how I like things to look. Like I don't know that I like even have really a schedule. I will literally like film something that week and I'm like, okay, I gotta put something up. I gotta promote myself. Like I need to post something skin. Like I'll put myself on, maybe like 2 or 3 posts where I'm like, okay, trying to switch it up, give like some type of skincare or informative post. But really, I think truly it's just that week, whatever I'm feeling, and then whatever the vibes are given.
Which I think it comes through. It's authentic and it's genuine.
And that's what it is like truly when I post, like it's authentic to me. And that's I know people say like Instagram is fake. Obviously, Instagram is very filtered and all the things, but that is like truly me. Like and I can vouch for that. Like I know you well. Like we just said this. I've been seeing you pretty much every 6 weeks for 4 years. Like that actually is you at your core. And I think that is why I even appreciate it more, because I'm like, wow, like I know you're like this is just like such a beautiful like vacation post, and I just know you're sitting there and enjoying it every second of it, you know? Thank you. I mean, obviously there's the in-betweens and life, nothing's perfect.
Of course,
like it's all the best absolute versions of yourself. But the majority of that, like the style, just the things that I like, I think it's just what I post, and then it collectively came together to look like what it is, if that makes sense.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Have you been able to monetize? Like how are affiliate links going?
So those are good. To be honest with you, I'm kind of a lazy social media person. As bizarre as that sounds, I'm a creative person. I really think that's what it is. I'm not super logical. I'm not like a super analytical person, and I probably could be a little bit better about monetizing, because I've heard that that's like obviously the wave now. But no, I don't really do like a whole lot. I do like the links like Amazon. I have like links to different companies that I'll work with that like maybe with skincare stuff, that if somebody sends me something or wants me to promote it, yes, I'll do that. But as far as like being super consistent with it, I can't say that I'm super consistent with it. So,
but that's okay. You're still doing it for fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So as an esthetician, I can't say the word.
Esthetician. It's so hard. Jeez. And then try spelling it like 3 times in a row, and you're like, I give up.
I was writing it a lot, and then I just started writing ESTH.
Yeah, you're like, I'm like,
I can't write this. Okay, so is your main source of income a salary, or do you get paid more for certain services, pushing product? Like, what are your main sources of income?
So it's, I would say everywhere is different, but personally mine is set base. So I do have a base, and then on top of that base is going to be like your commission. So you're getting skincare sales, you're getting treatments, and then just in general, like whatever treatment you're selling. So, and every treatment's going to be different prices. And then tips is like a huge thing too.
Tipping culture.
Yes. A lot of people don't know this because I think they think medical aesthetics. I don't really know what the deal is with the tipping. Like, I know it gets crazy other places, but you should tip an esthetician. That's like something that I always stand by. It is, at the end of the day, it's a service. Whether or not it's, 20%, whatever you want to give, like, by all means, it is somebody's work. I think tipping culture has gotten absolutely crazy. But I do always say, like, your nail person, like your hair person, your esthetician, anybody that's like doing a service for you, it's tip based.
You should. Do you see people not tipping?
All the time.
Wow.
Yeah, all the time.
Like more times than not? Like, give me a percentage of people that tip.
I would say it's not a large percentage, but it happens more often than you would think.
Wow.
I really feel like, though, to be honest with you, it's usually people who don't take it seriously, or it's a situation where maybe they just don't know.
Exactly. And that, I think there is, we'll give some people the benefit of the doubt of like, they don't know if they should be tipping.
Right.
So to clarify,
Yeah.
to set the record straight on Home with Friends, you should tip.
You should tip your esthetician. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Because it is a huge part of obviously our livelihood also. But yeah, no, you'd be very surprised at the amount of people
that is surprising. So what I do, and you please be honest if this is fucked up, I take the service, like let's say I buy a product, which I don't all the time.
Yeah.
I do a 20% tip on the service without the product included in that.
That's perfect.
That's fine, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And I tell people that all the time. I'll be like, hey, this is how much the service was, and then
this is how much the product was.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that makes a difference, because medical grade skincare is expensive.
Yeah.
So if people are getting 2 products at the end of it, that can add to
and tipping on top
$200
of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay. So like if you walk into like a Rhino, for example,
Yeah.
and you order a coffee and they flip the iPad to you, are
Yeah.
you tipping?
No.
Okay.
Just because
I do like $1, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't like
I've done
being in
that
this
too.
position.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I've been tons of times where I'll like click at a like place like that. But to be honest with you, like, counter service to me, like, if you're not physically serving something, or like you're not caring or taking care of that person, really, that's not, to me, like a tipping situation. Okay. I feel like obviously a waitress or a waiter, a bartender, 100%.
Of course.
Anybody who is serving you or caring for you during that time that you're there, like 100%. Like, I think that's a tipping situation. But if it's, just somebody who's like ringing you out with like,
okay, so let's go in between then. Let's go with like, okay, we're at Salted Melon.
Yeah.
And you're ordering your food. They're not necessarily serving you, but like someone's making it, they're bringing it out to you.
Right.
They're cleaning up after you. They're not really serving me.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. It's like, I don't want to be super cheap and not necessarily tip you.
Right.
But if I'm tipping for every little thing I'm buying all day, when I'm getting a coffee or I'm doing lunch, whatever, it's like next thing I know, I'm like, should I even be tipping?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, in situations like that, to be honest with you, I do, just because I'm like, I feel like they are doing something. And if you're watching people like, yes, cook for you and all the things, like, and they're bringing it out to you, like, that to me is, you are still like serving the person. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like,
which is funny
like
because it's like, how do people feel pressured to like tip when it's a coffee, but then they're coming in and getting a facial and not tipping?
Right. Right.
I don't
but
get it.
To me, it's one of those situations where people just don't know.
Yeah.
And I do agree tipping culture has gotten absolutely crazy. I mean, prices in general have gone up and we're looking at like a completely different economy now, but I feel like you should at least tip your provider or your service person 20% of their service.
Yep.
For sure.
100%. I completely agree. Okay. So I want to wrap talking about Soso Matcha,
Yay.
which we have right here.
Yay.
So tell me about the origin of this, starting a company and the status of the company today.
Yeah, so Soso Matcha is my small little tea matcha brand. Basically, my grandmother's Japanese, so I've told you a little bit about this, but I grew up my whole life like drinking tea. I've always been like a tea fanatic. It doesn't matter what type of green tea it is. I am down for some tea, hot tea, cold tea, iced tea, whatever. But yeah, no, I started this, I would say like 2 years ago with just like literally like the thought of I wanted people to have better matcha. I have always been really into like the origin of how like tea is, harvested and how it's come to light. And I think a lot of people don't know how quite intricate like the tea industry is. So
Yeah, so tell us.
yeah, so kind of like the wine industry, how it gets very intricate and very niche, but same with the tea industry. So all tea or green tea comes from a specific plant, the Camellia sinensis plant, and basically that tea plant creates all green tea. So these little tiny leaves that grow on this like basically bush is how you get every single type of green tea. So what they do is different types of tea that they make. So if you do like, for instance, like say you're at the grocery store and you buy like just a tea bag or like a box of tea bags, basically all of that tea that's in there are cut up like stems and like leaves from that tea plant, and they're basically put into a bag, and that's how you get a green tea. But then you can get even super more niche with it, and then they create things like matcha. So basically matcha is you take that stem of the tea leaf, you're cutting off the stem, and then you save the actual part of the leaf. You cut the tip of the leaf off and that bottom part of the leaf, and you get the middle part of the leaf. And then that middle part of the leaf is basically grind into the powder.
Wait, what?
So that's matcha. That's how matcha is harvested.
Why does it have to be the middle part of the leaf?
Because it's the most nutrient rich. So this is where we get even more like into it, but when you're buying poor quality and high quality teas.
Yes.
So for the record, Starbucks is very bad quality. So I'm just going to say it. But if you're drinking a Starbucks matcha, I'm so sorry, but it's like terrible for you. It's loaded with sugar. It's just not good quality. But anyway, what it is basically they're acquiring it cheaper. So they're buying bags of ground up stems. So they're not getting that middle part of the leaf. They're buying just stems, and then they're grinding it up and selling it as a tea. And usually when you're getting teas like that, you'll find that like the taste is very different. The smell is very different. It usually has a little bit of a different color green. So a high quality matcha, which is going to be like a ceremonial grade, when you're getting that true middle part of the leaf, you're getting the most nutrient rich part of the leaf, but also you're going to have a higher quality matcha that tastes better. It's going to be a smoother taste. It's not going to have a weird aftertaste. It's not going to have a weird smell. And it's usually not going to be clumpy when you froth it. But yeah, that's basically how the tea industry works. It's crazy. And then you can get even further into it with shading. So all matcha is harvested during the springtime and it's shaded. That's basically what keeps the sun from burning the tea leaves. So there's different types of teas that you can leave out in the sun, and it acquires a different taste. So like sencha teas, which is like another one of my favorites. It's a actual green tea that you drink, like no powder. But sencha teas are shaded for like a short amount of time, and then they're left in the sun for like a very short amount of time. You get hojicha teas, which are going to be basically like a roasted kind of flavor. You can roast them with rice. Like there's so many different types of ways that you can acquire a tea.
Yeah.
So, but that's basically kind of how matcha works. Is it's shaded, it's grown underneath those shades, and then basically it's harvested in the springtime.
And where are you getting yours from?
Uji. So I work with a small like family tea-owned farm in Uji. Basically, this same small family-owned farm has been like centuries of tea farming. Tea farming is actually like kind of a dying industry in Japan, unfortunately, like with just the way that society is. I think technology and just people don't want to be out in the sun farming anymore. It's a really hard industry to like hard labor.
Yeah.
And I think it's really changing, but to be able to find like a true family-owned farm that hasn't sold to like a major corporation and still lives by all their same traditions and harvests tea the same way that they have for centuries is such a special thing, and also completely changes the taste of like what you're drinking.
How did you get connected with them?
So I have like a connection in New York.
Okay.
Was able to like connect with the farm that's in Japan.
Okay.
So
And were you doing this completely on your own?
yeah.
Completely on your own.
Yep. So I did all this on my own. I basically connected with them through that that family that owns that tea shop. And then once I was able to connect with the farm, they basically like harvest everything for me, and then I harvest like once a year. So.
And how have the tariffs affected you? Because I know they
Tariffs have affected me. Yes. So I actually just paid a pretty penny. So
like what? Give me some numbers, because I have no perception of like what it looks like for. That.
Yeah. So it really depends on like what your order is like. For me, I just ordered like a large batch and I paid around $1,000 in tariffs. So
Wow.
plus how much I paid to like get the matcha here. So, I mean, I think everybody is so different with, you know, whatever amount they're bringing in, but yeah. It was not cheap.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And are there delays now in getting it, or is it just the cost of it?
So mine's a little delayed right now just because I'm still kind of new in this. This is my second time like purchasing and harvesting. So essentially when I did it the first time, I bought just enough that I thought would like sell. And I actually sold within like less than a year, which is great. I sold out completely.
Wow, good
and
for
then
you.
I had this like weird, thank you. I had this weird like time frame in between where it wasn't harvest season yet. And I wasn't like sure how much to purchase. So I ended up actually purchasing a little bit more than I did last year, but then tariffs hit. And so then I was hit with that part too. So I was like, okay, now I'm buying more matcha. I'm also spending more on the shipping, getting it here, all the things, the packaging, all that
let's
stuff.
advertise it, because it comes with all of this.
Yeah.
Do you want to hold it and explain it?
Yes.
And
Okay.
then also I want to know how you came up with like the little, even like the little logo. Like all of that is impressive to me, because listen, this is just a little teeny tiny podcast, but even coming up with like a podcast name.
Yeah.
It's
hard.
It's hard. And you don't want to ask for like too many opinions, because then you get like, it's just, you really do have to just sit and think. And I don't know. I just want to know all of that.
So Soso Matcha basically came from my dog's name that just passed away. I know, my sweet girl. That will
make me instantly cry.
Yeah, girl, that was the most heartbreak. I know you know too.
But I do know. Look at my sign.
Oh my goodness, they just don't live long enough.
They really don't live long enough.
So sad. She was a Great Dane, and she unfortunately had some like health things going on. But we called her. Her name was Sora. So in Japanese, it means sky. And for short, we would call her Soso. So that's how I got Soso Matcha. I don't know why I wanted to name it that, but like I just thought it was cute, and I was like, that's easy to remember.
How did you come up with Sora? Do you just like that sky?
Yeah,
that's really pretty.
Yeah, everything like I feel like I've created. I've had like some sort of like Soso or Sora. Like Devin's like, quit naming everything after our dog. Like you can't do that. So. I need to come up with some new names for things, but I do love it.
Next thing is sky.
Yeah.
It's just like a variation of it.
But yeah, Soso came to light from that. Basically the label, I just knew I wanted it to be super minimalistic, simple, kind of just like my vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, the whisk and the bowl was like just kind of like, you understand what it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that coming with it was helpful, because like if I had just bought the matcha, I didn't have that stuff.
Basically what you get, so you're gonna get you get the scoop, you also get the frother or whisk, and then you get the sifter and then the bowl. So basically when you make matcha, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. I always say frothing with a whisk is better than doing like an electric frother. So the reason why is because the frother is able just to like hit that very top layer of the matcha and froth it up better, whereas like a electric one, you kind of have to set it in, and it's not like the same motion, if that makes sense. You're kind of more of just spinning it around with an electric frother.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, versus the whisk, you actually are like whisking it back and forth. So it creates that like foamy froth on top, which is what you want with matcha. But the scoop is also super important. So a bamboo scoop, basically you're going to take 2 to 3 heaping scoops depending on how much you want. So 2 scoops is around 60 milligrams of caffeine. 3 scoops is going to be around 90. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Well, in a cup of coffee, it's about 120 milligrams. So it really depends on what you're...
Never mind, you just put it in perspective for me.
Yeah. So I always tell my pregnant women too, like if you're trying to just like keep an intake of your caffeine levels, that's a good way to do it, or a good measurement. So 2 to 3 is where I try to start. And then basically I like a little bit more matcha just because I find that it froths better. I'll do 3 heaping scoops in the bowl. I'll take about 1/3 cup of water. Really, it's an eyeball thing. So I will try to like give direction on how much to really use, but it really just depends on how much of the actual like matcha you're putting in there. And then you'll take the sifter. Basically, you'll sift that matcha through the sifter, and then that finally mills it. So it gives it that.
I was
nice
going to
color.
ask, like, what's the importance of that part?
Yeah, so this is actually super important. A lot of people don't realize either the way that you get clumpy matcha is it just hasn't been finely milled, or it's not a good quality, or it hasn't been sifted. So anytime you sift matcha, it basically gives it that like super finely milled powder. And then when you go in to whisk it, it just separates it better. So it keeps it from clumping to the sides. So if you ever get a matcha like on the sides, it looks like it's like all stuck together. It just hasn't been finely sifted.
Fair enough.
So that's what does that. And then, yeah, you whisk it. Put your little 1/3 cup of water, get it nice and frothed. And then once you froth it up, you can either add it to water, you can add it to milk. I mean, I've seen people add it to like juice, like all kinds of like alcoholic beverages, like all kinds of things.
Oh yeah, so. I saw like a matcha-tini or something recently.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have
so
to
many
try
different
that.
types of things that you can do. So,
well, I'm very proud of you. So you're welcome. So when are you going to be doing a round 2 of
matcha?
Yeah, like selling it.
So matcha will be available at the end of May. So it's coming. She's on the way. I'm excited. I've been secretly drinking my matcha, but I can't like promote it right now because obviously, I don't want to be like the asshole that's drinking the product that they can't give. So yeah.
Yay. Okay, good. Can't wait to promote that. So you already said Starbucks is trash because Starbucks matcha is trash. Sorry. It's okay. Oh well. What are the top 3 matchas in Charlotte? Can you even give a top 3?
Yeah. So
is there good matcha in Charlotte?
Yeah, there is. There is good matcha in Charlotte. I know I always like pick fun at, sometimes your local coffee shop doesn't like to spend a lot of money on getting a good quality matcha. And I get it. It is very expensive to like acquire. But yeah, I do love Undercurrent. So I think
too.
Undercurrent does use a really good matcha. They also have a really great sencha tea. So I believe it's called their Morning Mist. And I'll get that actually when I do go there, but I'll put it over ice or I'll do it hot depending on season. I love their Morning Mist. That's like one of my favorites.
Okay. Wow.
And then
I'm gonna have to try it.
Yeah. And I don't know, are they owned by the same company as Not Just Coffee?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. I know they both have Morning Mist on their menu. I actually don't know if that's like the same corporation or business owner, but, yeah, I've seen both of them do have Morning Mist. So that's a good one. But yeah, I would say Undercurrent's probably my favorite if I had to pick one. So.
Great. Okay. Love it because it's in walking distance and I go there all the time. And I do love theirs as well.
There's another good one too I forgot to mention was Matcha Mako. So it's Maiko. So they're actually off of Providence.
Oh, never heard of that.
And if you ever go over there, they have like actually a cute little cafe. And I will say it's good for Charlotte because Charlotte, again, doesn't have a lot of like that actual true ceremonial grade matcha, but their matcha is really good. And then they do like a whole cafe of like matcha ice cream. They have like little matcha treats. It's really cute, but their matcha is very good.
Okay.
So,
I'll try it.
yeah.
And we'll end with a fun question.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's a little bit tricky.
Okay.
What's something you would do if you knew no one would ever find out it was you?
Oh. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Like if they didn't have to know it was me.
They will never find out it was you. You could commit a crime. You could do something fun. Anything. I don't want to influence your answer. What's something you would do if you knew that no one would ever find out it was you?
I don't know.
I know.
I actually don't. I don't know that I'd want to commit a crime. I think it would be something more like creative.
That's where my mind goes.
Yeah, I'm good on the crimes. I don't have time for that. But I think it would be probably like something creative. Like I think obviously like Banksy is like legendary for like, I mean, imagine like just going around and creating all these things and like nobody has any idea who the hell you are. Like, I think that's iconic.
Oh my God, that's actually a really cool perspective because I feel like most people do things for the clout.
Yeah.
And you actually would do it for the opposite.
Yeah. I love like how, I mean, he obviously gets like, people recognize his work and like his art and like it's so cool. Like you can tell it's his style, but we don't know who it is. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's awesome. Like you've already created like a legacy with your vibe and like your whole style without like even having to like say who you are. I think that's
oh my
iconic.
God, I just like weirdly got chills.
Right?
Yes, that is so iconic.
Yeah.
That's an amazing answer. I'm glad you came up with that answer because I couldn't really think of anything.
Yeah, cloud is ruining
So overrated.
society. It is. Just
We've had plenty of talks about that.
Yeah. Yeah, good vibes, be yourself. Who gives a fuck about what anyone thinks about you? Like live your life.
Live your life.
So,
I love you.
I love you. Thank you
so
for having
much.
me.
Of
I'm
course.
excited. This was fun.
Give me a hug.
Yay.
And then we gotta take a photo. We
Okay.
cannot forget.
Perfect.
We
This
can
was
match
actually
too.
really cute.
Oh my
I'm
God,
obsessed.
yay.
You did such a good job too. You're good at this though.
Thanks. Oh my God. Girl, you know how it is.